Hi there. So today I'm walking through a Journey to Life blog by Manuela, and the title is Day 119, Shortcuts as Resistance, the failing duo of characters I give up and it'll work out. So her blog is about facing resistance within walking a timeline of completing a project, and she specifically looks at how she tends to give into certain resistances, which then kind of screw up with effectively walking the timeline of completing a certain project, and then create an unpredictable situation because there are certain steps that have not been taken correctly or that have not actually been walked correctly. So she then ends up just having to fix it quick in the end. And so I wanted to have a look at this blog because it's a point that I can identify with and can relate to. And so I find very supportive. So I'm going to read now just a statement here. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not commit myself 100% to translating the conclusion of all the steps that I have laid out by walking a timeline in their detail, but instead give in to resistances that create an unpredictable situation that then must be coped with on the fly. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not bring the steps as I know them to be to their conclusion, so that there is a match between what I know must happen for the sequence of steps to flow into each other, but instead I give in to the resistance of having to create the match because I believe the thought that it is too difficult. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to let the I give up character take over in creating my life in the context of projects where I give energy to my resistances, where these resistances slide by seemingly unnoticed and only in hindsight, when it is too late and I must deal with the consequences, I'm aware of the underlying cause in creating these consequences. Okay, so this is actually an important point because I am certain that most people experience this point of giving into these resistances within actually walking the creation of something, and then eventually only being able to actually create it only half or not really to its optimum functioning and not really the way it was supposed to be. And many probably would even just give up in the middle somewhere because of all the resistances that come up, and because we tend to always give in to those resistances and end up eventually not having done anything at all, or just a little bit, or we end up in this short amount of time that we have to complete the project now, and then obviously the resistance becomes a lot bigger because we don't want to have all the stress and we can't handle the stress. So then eventually what happened a lot with me in things that I did is that I eventually simply gave up, because there was always some kind of excuse for me to be able to give up and to be able to say to myself that it's okay to give up because there'll be other things, or because someone else will do this. There was always like this kind of a soft cushion for me to fall back on. But in this process now, however, there is no soft cushion. There is no one standing behind me and going to tell me that it's okay to fall. It's okay to give in to those resistances. It's okay to give up because, what does it matter anyway? Just because that's how it used to be. You just have to do what other people tell you. And I mean, you can fall, you can give in to those resistances, and your parents may punish you, or your parents may be angry with you, or they'll pity you, or they'll pick you back up and put you on your feet again, and then say, okay, now you have to like they'll say things like, it's okay, you don't have to try anymore, I can see it's really difficult for you. And yeah, so but in this process now of stopping the mind and taking self responsibility, that's not really an option anymore. So because it's a process wherein each one is alone within themselves, alone, completely self responsible. So for every decision that you make. So if you allow yourself to fall, you're just going to have to get back up, and it's going to be more difficult. So I'm going to read another one here. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to have a memory of my father gesturing, telling me it's going to work out when dealing with a task, without realizing that my father actually had it worked out step by step for himself, but did not communicate these steps to me when I asked him, and me not realizing that there are real steps to be worked out. I have programmed myself to believe that when I intend for the steps to work out, then they will work out. So that's an interesting point in how parents tend to keep their child in like a safe, happy place of like beliefs and feelings that as long as your intentions are good, it's all going to work out. Because what parents tend to do is then like they'll see that the child has tried and it did their best, and then the parent will, if the child is experiencing some problems, or if the child wants to give up for some reason, the parent will in many cases find that okay and say to the child that it's all right, it'll work out, don't worry. And then the child doesn't actually have to walk the entire process of completing what it had begun. And so that's like what spirituality is based on as well. It's just simply good intentions, all positive intentions and positive feelings and positive vibrations, where we exist in hope and beliefs and ideas and perceptions and like faith that it's all going to work out and the world is just going to change magically, because we feel that it's changing and we feel that it's all good, and we experience hopefulness, and we have good intentions, so obviously the world's going to change. It's like it's like a movie. That whole concept is being played out in movies as well. Like as long as your intentions are good, it's going to magically work itself out. That's what the law of attraction is based on as well. Good intentions. As long as your intentions are good, it's all going to work out. Which is basically keeping us from actually really looking at the real practical physical steps that are required to walk a process in its actual real-time completion. And in many cases we will begin a project with good intentions and positive feelings and beliefs, and then along the way somewhere certain resistances pop up because things aren't going the way we wanted them to go, and all of a sudden we're not feeling good anymore about what we're doing, so we just tend to simply give up and create all sorts of excuses and justifications for our giving up, for why it's okay for us to give up, when we don't even notice that we didn't ever, in trying to complete this project, we didn't ever really look at the nitty-gritty of the physical reality of what it would actually take to bring that point into completion, and what will actually happen in the physical reality. We don't ever look at that, and this entire world is actually a result of that way of living. Because if we really had a look at how the physical reality functions and works and operates in the decisions that we make daily, in the projects that we try to complete, in all our, all our help organizations, all our structure, designs, and creations in which we try to manage this world, this reality, and humanity and nature. If we really considered the actuality of the physical reality, then we wouldn't be in such a mess that we are today. Then, I mean, it would show in our world that we are able to, in fact, care about nature because we know how it functions and we have an insight. However, now it's like we base our decisions on feelings, and we base our decisions and our actions on feelings, on hope, on positive vibrations, on good intentions, where we don't really take into consideration what is going to happen in the world, in the physical reality, and then we kind of move the physical reality without understanding how the rest of reality or the rest of the world or our environment will react and respond to that movement as what we're actually busy creating within the ripple effect that we are manifesting in our actions. So, I mean, consumerism, which is a total abusive system, not only for human beings but for nature, for animals, that is the complete result of humanity never actually looking at reality and considering the physical factors of how the physical reality works and functions in the decisions that we make. We just base our decisions on positive feelings, and then what happens is that we created this system that will feed the positive feelings of a few who are able to participate in the system of consumerism and leave so many others just to starve, physically, literally starve, who are not able to participate in those positive feelings. I mean, if you're starving, you're just suffering, you're in pain, so how can you feel positive then? And those are the consequences of that system that we've created, because we never took into consideration what was going to happen, how how the physical actually functions, and what is in fact really required for us to to create a world that is actually best for all life. And yeah, so that's a point that is related to what Manuela has written about facing these resistances in walking a timeline of completing a project. And which all happens in the mind and never in the physical reality, where we are always just busy, on the one hand, trying to do things right and with good intentions and rushing through a project, trying to get it done according to what we want in our mind. And then on the other hand, there's all these resistances that are coming up and that are basically keeping us from, in fact, walking the project in physical real-time reality. Because we are stuck in these inner personalities and inner characters of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, where we actually are not really willing to consider the real physical practical steps as basically the program of the physical reality, because we would much rather simply participate in positive feelings. Like, we just want to get our energetic fix, we just want to get those feelings and be able to feel good, which doesn't in any way have anything to do with the reality, because reality is a system. Reality isn't, has nothing to do with good intentions, has nothing to do with positivity and light and love and God knows what. Reality is just a system, and the output is equal to the input. It's very simple, but we're just not willing to look at that and to consider that, because we just much rather delude ourselves by believing by believing in concepts, by believing in feelings, by trusting feelings and concepts and ideas which are extremely limited and which do not enable us to in fact see how the reality is really functioning. Okay, so I would definitely suggest for anyone to go and read Manuela's blog, because I'm sure that many people are struggling with this point, and as you read through her words you will recognize this construct within yourself, and you will be grateful to Manuela, because in this you can assist and support yourself to step out of that character and to realize that it's just a construct and it's just a system. Okay, so also check out the other Journey to Life blogs at the Facebook group. And for assistance and support in starting your own journey to life, go to the Destiny website, and I will place all the links below this video. Thanks.